Thank you, organizers, for giving me this opportunity. Garima, well tried. But unfortunately, I think you were busy talking about the pathophysiologies and epidemiological studies. It didn't come to a point where it showed any benefit of using treatment for urate lowering effect. So unfortunately, we missed that. So I have to take it from here because the time was too short. So see, the thing is that I am going to focus on renal patients. You did mention about epidemiological studies, some animal studies, but those are all hypothesis generating. And there are enough studies in human beings where you can prove or disprove the use of urate lowering treatment, whether it is beneficial or not. So I'm going to restrict to that part only. So I have to answer three questions here. When I was asked about this debate, I thought let's answer these three questions. Is the association of uric acid and CKD causal and strong, which I think you already accepted it may not be causal, but still I'll show you a few slides on that. Second question is treatment with urate lowering drug beneficial? Because if it is not beneficial, there is no point using treatment for lowering uric acid. And third part, can we do any harm by using these treatments? So these three parts. The first part for my, excuse me, yes. So first part comes here. So this is a study which is very often quoted where Srivastav showed that there is a high uric acid is independently associated with risk of kidney failure. But this is an observational study, number one. And their own self-reported limitations were that there were several confounders. There are lack of follow-up measurements. We don't know what was the uric acid in follow-up. And it did not show any benefit when the GFR was less than 30. So this is again, I mean, you have to prove it with RCTs. We know that for any strong evidence. Another is no CKD study. Here, it did not show any statistical significance for decline in GFR or doubling of creatinine. And the limitation of this study also is, though it is prospective, so-called, they labeled it as prospective, but the results were from cross-sectional analysis. So they took a snapshot, and from there they started interpreting the results, which again is not correct. Information on duration of drug use was limited. So there were several confounders and limitations of this study as well. So I can keep going on to prove whether there is causal effect, whether it is strong or not. There are few studies which are in favor, like Weiner and Krishnan. There are several studies which are against also, like Cheney and Chonchol. So what I interpret from my first part is the association of uric acid and CKD is not causal, and role in progression of CKD is still not proven without doubt. So that is my first part. Coming to my second part, whether lowering is beneficial or not. And here I will speak the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So you can go into in between lines, but the actual fact is there are three very important studies. All of them are randomized control trial. I am talking about human studies, randomized control trial addressing asymptomatic hyperuricemia treatment. So the primary endpoint in this feather study was difference in GFR slope. And what they found is there was no significant difference in mean eGFR slope between febuxostat and placebo. They keep on digging out subgroup analysis, but I think subgroup analysis is a desperate attempt for getting some kind of positive result for publication, kind of a beating the bush, or at best, if I'm more considerate, hypothesis generating. So it cannot be taken as an evidence. Number two, Freed study, again, a randomized control trial. And what the editorial said about Freed trial, and this is not my quote, it's an editorial's quote. I put more weightage on that rather than you believe on my words. It's a small study with inadequate statistical power, so it cannot be taken into consideration for formulating a guideline or making a decision to treat or not to treat. Further down the line, there is another study. Why it's not moving? Yeah. So further down the line is CKD fixed study. This is again randomized control trial, Australia, New Zealand. And again, you can, because of the time limit, I'm not going into the details of the study. I'm just going straight away into the interpretation on conclusion. So the result of this study, again, randomized control trial, the change in eGFR did not differ significantly between allopurinol and placebo. So all these three randomized control trials did not show any benefit of treatment of hyperuricemia in asymptomatic patients. There was again a quote, this was 2019, so it cannot be concluded that pharmacologic urate lowering agents have a protective effect on kidney function in patients with CKD and asymptomatic hyperuricemia. And hence comes my second message. And this is again a quote from James Lord last year only. Pharmacologic treatment for asymptomatic hyperuricemia carries some risk, and we are going to talk in my third part, is not considered beneficial or cost effective, and generally is not recommended. Not my words, you may not agree with me, but these are some editorial decisions which are based on several studies and evidences. Third part is, can we do harm by urate lowering? Our Hippocratic oath is do no harm. You may benefit, you may not benefit, but do no harm. And we all know those who have experienced unfortunate hypersensitivity reactions with allopurinol would never touch this medicine again in their patient. They could, just by treatment of simple hyperuricemia, a patient dying of hypersensitivity reaction like toxic epidermal necrolysis or Stevens-Johnson syndrome, is a nightmare for any physician. Even febuxostat, which some people consider very safe, it's not free of side effects. There is hepatotoxicity, and there has been reported hypersensitivity reactions here as well. And you were talking about protection. Actually, there is a research paper 2019 which looked into acute kidney injury because of many drugs. And I was surprised to see that acute renal failure was reported 5.7 and 3.3 times more frequently with febuxostat and allopurinol as compared to other drugs. So apart from what we call NSAIDs, this, that, antibiotics, even febuxostat and allopurinol have a potential to cause acute kidney injury as well. And you talked something about some cardiometabolic disease benefits in epidemiological study. But when actually we do a study to look at cardiovascular safety, all-cause mortality and cardiovascular mortality were higher with febuxostat in one of the studies. So see, going by epidemiological study, you cannot derive a conclusion. You have to do further studies, preferably randomized control trial, to prove or disprove that hypothesis. So third part of my talk, the message is, considering the side effects of urate lowering agents in patients with CKD and the lack of clinical trials showing protective effect of these drugs on kidney function in patients with CKD and asymptomatic hyperuricemia, it is premature to recommend this therapy for asymptomatic hyperuricemia in patients with CKD. Again, quote taken from literature. So all three parts, causal, beneficial effect, harmful effect, all three, I think, are not in favor of treatment of asymptomatic hyperuricemia. By the way, did you bother looking for causes of hyperuricemia? At many prescriptions, when I see, there are secondary causes which are more common than primary cause of hyperuricemia. There are so many drugs or toxins which cause increase in uric acid levels. And if we identify that, then we can manage that without giving a urate lowering treatment specifically. What about lifestyle modification? We forget that. In CKD, ideal body weight, avoid alcohol, sweetened beverages, like regular exercise, this can also take care of high uric acid, mild to moderate high uric acid. Avoidance of medicines which increase urate levels, for example, diuretics, which is kind of in all our prescriptions. Did we bother to look that, decrease the dose or stop it and see what happens to uric acid? ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, these are part of our prescription. Almost all prescriptions will have this, and these are all drugs which can increase uric acid. So instead of using these drugs, why not treat with medicines like fenofibrates where it is required, losartan because it's known to cause decrease in uric acid, or calcium channel blockers predominantly. And these all simple measures can reduce the uric acid without even going for specific treatment. And if it is so beneficial, why US, Europe do not recommend treatment of asymptomatic hyperuricemia? I mean, they are not fools. I mean, most of the studies which we are quoting are from US and Europe. And still, if they do not recommend treatment of asymptomatic hyperuricemia, we have not done any trial to prove that we should use it in India. We are based on their studies only, right? So if you want to manage it like this on your own, just to increase the pill burden of the patient, you are most welcome. But actually, if you want to practice evidence-based medicine and discuss in an academic forum, I think then you have to show something better to me. I think I'll end here and back to chairperson for the...
I can see things getting hotter now. I mean, I am believing I am the general physician. The patient is right in front of me. To write, not write, to write, not write. Once Dr. Garima is telling me not to write, Dr. Tarun is telling me to write. This is your chance, Dr. Garima. Let's go for the rebuttal. Come on.
Yes, he's saying you show something better. You are mute, I think.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, yeah.
Make it loud and clear to Dr. Tarun.
I can't hear.
You are mute.
Dr. Garima, you are mute.
Yeah. So sorry about that. So I think the whole story about hyperuricemia and uric acid to treat or not to treat is like two individuals going towards a storm, and one says, "Arey yaar, storm hai, nahi jate hain aage," and the other says, "Ki nahi, 1 in 7 million chance hai marne ki, chalte hain aage." It's said that those who know the statistics are more likely to die from a storm. So coming forward with my data, I am going to address directly what Dr. Tarun has said. First of all, the feather study. Yes, subgroup analysis is important. The subgroup analysis did show a benefit in a certain younger population, even in the feather trial. I'm going to take the bull by its horn. You didn't mention the pearl, so I'm going to go straight to the CKD fix. So the CKD fix study, which was published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2020, it took 363 people with CKD 3 and 4, albuminuria, and looked at it for 2 years and tried to see if there was any benefit. They found no benefit. पर ये तो वो बात हो गई कि वी आर सीइंग द रिस्क ऑफ एमआई, एक को मेडिसिन दी एक को नहीं दी, किसी में एमआई नहीं हुआ तो ड्रग का बेनिफिट नहीं है. आई डोंट एग्री विद दैट. There were major limitations in this trial. They intended to include 620 people, but they only included 276. 30% of people in iropurinol arm didn't take the medicine. They dropped out. Use of serum creatinine-based equations, and also not using iohexol or anything more solid. आप मुझे 3 दिखाइए, मैं आपको 25 दिखाती हूँ. So these are all the trials which showed benefit. Randomized controlled trials, as Dr. Tarun says, we must only follow them, which show that urate lowering therapy is beneficial in CKD, in decreasing. In fact, this review in Nature Reviews Nephrology in 2019 goes on to say that for hyperuricemic patient, non-dialysis dependent, you may consider strong evidence of treating them with urate lowering therapy. The CKD fixed trial came in New England Journal of Medicine, and the editorial comments. See, we are not saying give uric acid therapy to everybody who comes to your clinic. Give it to people who are known to be having relation of CKD with high uric acid, which is a younger population, early stages of CKD, absence of proteinuria. Even in adolescents, the association of uric acid with hypertension is in this population. So address that group. I do agree with the Japanese. They came out with this thing where they say hyperuricemia is more than 4. If there is no gouty arthritis, like let's look at the asymptomatic group, look at the serum urate level. If it is 8 or more, look at if they have these complications which I just mentioned. And if they have it, then start drug therapy. If they don't have it, but the uric acid level is more than 9, do consider drug therapy. You might be saving a life or two by preventing chronic diseases. That's all.